From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
So I'm going to talk to you today about alchemy, and I told them I didn't need a microphone because I had a stage voice, so I'm like dancing around, so I'm going to try to stand right here. But the first thing that we're going to talk about is physical alchemy, and then we're going to move into spiritual and alchemy as a metaphor. So physical alchemy. So I have a quote. Alchemy is the art of liberating parts of the cosmos from the temporal existence and achieving perfection, which for metals is gold, for man is longevity, followed by immortality, and finally redemption. So that's our goal when we're in the lab as book artists. So when people think about alchemy, mostly they're thinking about the physical transformation. So they're thinking about the chemical things that transpire when you're turning lead to gold and all of the things that go on. Most people don't think about the actual transformation that takes place in the Alchemist. But one of the things that I learned while I was here is that one of the best accidental discoveries happened in an alchemy lab in the late 12th century. There was an alchemist who was had an old dirty crucible and hadn't cleaned it out, sold it to another guy, and so when the new guy was making something in his lab, he accidentally discovered Prussian blue. So he discovered the first synthetic paint because of some potash was actually left in the crucible. So that's one of the positive discoveries from alchemy. So, spiritual transformation. So one of the more difficult concepts to get is the spiritual side of alchemy, because we kind of look at it as just a pseudoscience and kind of a precursor to chemistry that's kind of a joke. So, the best way I can explain it is, for an alchemist, what you want to be is like the glass beaker that you're working with. So you want your work to be both reflective and refractive. So anything that you're doing to the work, you also want to be transpiring within you. I don't know if that's making sense, but we're going to talk about books. So the first book, and I think I have it displayed, I do, is the Daniel Kelm book. It's a Mobius strip, and it's called Neo Emblematica Nova. It's based on a Michael Mayer manuscript from the 1500s. And here we have the alchemical egg. And you actually open the book there, because in order for it to work as a Mobius strip, there are two hinges that fold. So you actually have to go in through the alchemical egg in order to get it to fold the way that you want it to. So, I guess I should have told you that. Let's move back. So this book is also, which I didn't realize, I know it's based on the alchemical manuscript, but it's also based on music. So each particular panel has its own manuscript, but it also has its own fugue. So it's also in three voices. So there's the Vox fusions, the Vox sequens, and the Vox morons. So you have your alchemy going on, and you also have music. So a Mobius, I don't know, I guess I don't know, everybody knows what a Mobius strip is, but it's a circular band with a half twist that allows the reader to see the illustrations on both sides by simply passing over. So, and then this is also based on an alchemy manuscript. This is Karen Kunk, and it's Lore of Gold. And this one actually has early texts taken by 3 separate sources. So we have the Stone of the Philosophers from George Starkey, the Golden Tractate of Hermes Trismegistus, and then The Nature of Things by Paracelsus. And so she has interspersed text from the 3 different manuscripts with her woodcuts, which are lovely. So now we're going to be moving into books that use alchemy as a metaphor or use materials that could are non-conventional and based on the 4 elements in alchemy. So there are actually 5 elements in alchemy, but nobody seems to do anything with ether, so poor ether gets the shaft, and we're working mostly with air, water, fire, and earth. So this is a collaboration with Daniel Kelm, who's a well-known bookbinder, and Tim Ely, who is known for doing kind of otherworldly maps, I guess, would be a really good way to describe his work. So this is air, and while researching, I've found out that they're all different shapes, and I'll explain them to you, but these books are based on the Platonic solids, so which are specifically mentioned in Timaeus, which I had to read more than one time, thanks. So the Platonics, my philosophy instructor's here. The Platonic solids are the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron. So the tetrahedron corresponds to fire, the cube corresponds to earth, the octahedron with air, and the icosahedron with water. So, and the dodecahedron is, I guess, what he's using for ether, because he says it's indicative of the stars in the cosmos. So for air, we're going to have the octahedron. So this is, the binding is like a wire edge binding that you can actually pull the pins out of and construct it in multiple ways. And then we have earth, which is going to be our cube. And each piece comes with its own binding, but it comes with different materials as well. So this is our map for earth. And then we have fire. And then just because I thought it was beautiful, I'm going to let you see the fire up close. So we have the tetrahedron, and I found out that Tim Ely actually collects precious metals and different things from all parts of the country and puts them in his works. You'll see later there's part of a meteor in something that he did. So this is our tetrahedron, flat and then in its constructed position. And then water. Which is the icosahedron, which is really hard for me to say. And then I did a close-up of the moon phases for Krista, because you're welcome, because it was really lovely. And then I also have it is on display over there. It's a different page, though. I picked the page that is that corresponds to the alchemical element of fire he's got up in the corner, which is just a straight triangle. So, but this is Tim Ely's book Totem. It's one of the 2 Tim Elys that we have here in the collection, and they are both lovely. So this book was made with watercolor, gouache, airbrush, pen and pencil, foil stamping techniques, ground marble, and acrylic paint. So he uses a lot of very interesting things in the constructions of his books. Mark encouraged me to use outside people as well, because he felt that as far as bringing new materials in and being out of the box, he thought that I should look at Daniel Essex. So this is carved and painted mahogany, burned cherry, mica, nails, handmade paper, found natural objects, and 1800s text papers. One of the things that I found out from, and first of all, the book artist is like a really great community, because I emailed like every single person in these presentations and received emails back. Oh, well, this is what I did, and this is what my process was, and this is why I wanted to do this. And so he actually sent me an email, because I had no idea, but I found this very profound, so I'm probably going to read it twice. But anyway, it says, many book artists use my books as journals and fill them up with words, but I don't write in my books. For me, blank books themselves are visual records of my life and my works. So just found that really profound, that he doesn't write in his books at all and just uses his artist books blank. So anyway. And then this is another Daniel Essig, and this was the this is a exquisite corpse book based on the life of, he's got Buddha on one side, and then he's got medical illustrations of skeletons and the circulatory system on the other. And so he's got strips of paper running through with mica as well. So and then this book is on display. This is the lead book from Peter Koch, and it's called Diogenes Depictions. And apparently it was very common throughout the Greco-Roman world to curse each other. So what you would do is go to someone and get a lead tablet and have them inscribe the curse on your neighbor or whomever you wanted to curse, and then you would bury it in their yard or put it in their house or put it in a body of water in order to make that come true. So they were always made out of lead, and this book is, he wanted to do a play on that because Diogenes was such a cynic and such a grumpy person that he thought that it would be Diogenes cursing everyone else. So, and what I found out was that Diogenes was known as a cynic philosopher, which I already knew, but that he actually slept in a large ceramic vase. Know how that's possible, but they said that he made poverty a virtue and that he would actually not shower, and yeah, he was really just disgusting and slept in a vase. And I was like, well, this is really an interesting turn. So it freaked me out when I got it, because I'm picking them up and it's actually lead, so it's moving, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to break this book and I'm going to get kicked out of the Library of Congress and Carrie's going to yell at me. This is not going to be good. But it is very malleable, so I know you guys, I think they said, are they allowed to take pictures in here? But they're not allowed to touch, right?
I think in no flash.
Okay. So don't get tempted to touch the lead thing. So, but lead is definitely a medium that was of the earth, and so in the colophon, he says, curses, insults, spells are drawn on lead, but they're drawn to lead as well. And any time that you needed your word to be crude, binding, and painful, like the truth, you should use lead. So. And then this is one of the more tame ones. Some of them are very, very risque, but very funny. So you can look over there. And I have a cyanotype because it's me, so there's a cyanotype involved. If you're not familiar with cyanotypes, you actually print them in the sun. So, and you can print them on anything. You can print them on paper, well, anything that will accept iron, not anything. So you can do it on glass. You can tone them, so if you don't like the blue and white look, but So this one is actually pulled out, and then I have another one that is not in the PowerPoint. And then I really liked the Alchemy look of the book here. So he's got woodboard, binding, leather, glass, brass, handmade paper, a serpent, pigments, resins, and wax. So I don't know what the serpent was made out of, but I did email him and ask him if it was a real serpent, and he was like, no, not real. No serpents were harmed in the making of this book. So, and then that's just a close-up. And then this is one of, this is at the Smithsonian. So they had an exhibit, 1994, where certain artists were asked to respond to books that were in their collection. So he responded with Saturnia, and he says that it is an exploration of outer space, probing inner space. So within the reaches of the universe, he wanted to translate paintings into books and add an extraterrestrial element. So in order to do this, he has mixed up his normal paints, but he found somehow got a hold of a meteor that fell in Argentina in 1576, and he ground up part of it, and the gold, he mixed it with the gold oxide paint, so the actual gold has meteor dust in it as well. So, so this is pretty much what I've been doing, looking at materials that are non-conventional, and seeing how artists can take things that chemical and allegorical uses for alchemy and roll with it. So that's pretty much all. Unless there are questions or comments or snide remarks, I'll take them all. Any of them. Thank you.
Is that part of the exhibit that Carol Barton put together for the Smithsonian?
Yes, Carol Barton was one of the jurors on that in 1994.
Were you able to see locally any of the Daniel Isig books, or did you get the images through him personally?
I got the images from him personally.
Okay.
And
Are there any, do you know if there's any collections locally that have his books included?
I do not. Mark said that I could branch out and use, he said if you wanted to contact, but I could do that, but
I'm just curious, because
I will
he's
find
from
it out.
Virginia,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
is it
Or,
Asheville?
North Carolina.
Yeah, it's like
sorry,
Asheville, North, yeah.
So it's fairly local.
Yeah. I will look into that and I will let you know.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as we know, the collection here is so enormous and
Yes.
wonderful. How did you come to your topic? How did you know?
How did I come to my topic? I wanted to do it on astronomy, and Mark said, that's boring. Let's do something fun. He's like, let's do something that you know, is unconventional, different. Let's do some serious research. So I worked here and at the Dibner, and just, we looked at, because I was just going to look at materials and like chemical materials, different things. And he was like, well, let's look at manuscripts and see, you know, is there like some kind of a process that people go through as well. So that's kind of how. Yes.
Oh, I loved your talk, thanks.
Thank you.
Do you think that there's something more, this is very kind of like a speculative question, about the making of artist books, book arts, that's somehow more alchemical than other kinds of art making?
That's a good question. I guess because I'm doing it, yes, I do. I know that sounds horrible. I guess if I were like, you know, a sculptor, I would be like, no, I'm an alchemist. But I do, because I feel like there's so much that changes and transforms, you know, in a book that doesn't, I mean, the medium allows for so much more than just like a flat, sorry if you're a painter, like a flat painting. or something. So yeah, that was a really good question. Yes.
Were there any ceramics used in any of these? Did he incorporate like any things that are? Is there a reason? You know, ceramic. Oh yeah. Oh okay. I see. Right.
So yeah, the Peter Koch book, he used a ceramic box. So in each ceramic, I think there are, I don't remember what the edition size was, but each box is unique. So
And the tablets are lead?
the tablets
I
are
thought
lead.
the box was.
No, the tablets are lead because when I picked it up, it like bent in my hand, and I really was like, it was like a freak out moment for me. So yes.
How many of these do they make? Just one, or do they make 10, or
The lead book.
of any of these books that you've shown us?
Well, it's different for the edition. It's different for the edition size. Like the Nora Ray, the first Moon book, we looked at it, and there was an edition of 20, so we have 19 of 20. So I'd have to check the colophons on all of them, and I'm happy to do that with you if you really want to know.
I was just
But
curious,
it's
and-
different, yeah. It's not like I'm a book artist. I need to make 5 and stop.
The
So
Tim Ailey's are one of a kind.
Yeah,
yeah.
What's your favorite book out of all?
Out of all the ones that I looked at,
If you were to pick one.
if I were gonna pick one, if Mark was like, "Hey, I'm gonna let you have one for graduation," which I know is gonna happen, right?
Looked at one.
Right. I would say the Daniel Kelm, the Mobius strip one.
Which
So,
one?
It's the cube, the one that's in the cube. That
Oh.
Do you know how to put it back in?
I do know how to put it back together.
Did you take those pictures? Did you put it into those configurations that we saw?
No.
You have to start
Oh,
from the
okay.
picture of the creator of it.
Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
bearded figure.
Yeah.
You start with him, and
Yeah.
then you start full. Yeah.
When Daniel Kelm came to the school and showed us that book, he even had trouble getting it back into shape.
He was great. Yes, Beth.
So you said you looked at some manuscripts. Were those at the Dimner? And if you did, can you talk a little bit about those?
I did look at the manuscripts from the Dibner, and the ones that I looked at were, I looked at the one on astronomy. I don't remember the title. I'm sorry. I can email you, get back. But it's the one based on, I might have it, wait. I have notes. Hang on. So this manuscript was from someone named Huygen. So so I'll have to look at that and
No, I was
see my
trying to
back.
understand. You talked about doing the research. So
Yeah.
you're trying to figure out the relationship between the manuscripts and the research.
I just looked at the manuscripts that were based on those. So I'm looking at the, I guess it's the
So
Michael
you're looking
Myers.
at
So
the
it's
books that the artist looked
Yes.
at when he or she then made their book.
correct.
That exhibit.
So that's
Okay.
yeah, the Atalanta Fusions manuscript from the 15th century, and then the because that's the one that the Daniel Kelm is based on.
And could you see the relationship between them?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that it was also the music, the fugues or whatever, and then when I read that, I was like, oh well, there's even an extra layer that I didn't know about, because I'm just like, oh okay, well I get that alchemical imagery, and I get what he's trying to say, and I get this, but then when I saw that it was also music, I was like, oh, and it was based on the race, where I guess at Atalanta and Hippomenes and Hercules, right? And the golden apple and the race. So that's all in there.
The online exhibition is really good, so you can kind of find out more there.
This is a pretty shot of one I mentioned.
Yes.
I think you have the whole alchemy thing has been, you've been developing this for as long as, maybe 5 years, 6 years? And I think it's interesting for us, because you had said, people think maybe alchemy is silly because, there's this thing before chemistry.
Don't stop. Okay. My assignment from Dr. Simler is not to stop. Okay, got it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.
The second, Persephone. He has no time for the dark roots in his fingers. Those buds on the roots he does not recognize. It is the most beautiful flower of the field he wants. He who had that flower in his grasp in its seed at one time, but at that time did not know it, and had he known it, would not have wanted it, because he cannot plan the Lord of darkness. He should not be holding. He should always be wanting to hold. This is the only way he can speak. And there are no children in his kingdom, but only the fully achieved. These lines are from the Persephones by Nathaniel Tarn. This one here, one of the books I reviewed. The collection of fine press books in the Rare Book Reading Room represents all the publishers who were active in the late 20th century, and all the books are collaborations in some sense. They're often printed on handmade paper with handset type, and one book has hand-cut paper. This one here, the edges of the pages are hand-cut paper. The illustrations may be lithographs, photo engravings, linoleum cuts, or paintings. Most of the texts are poetry. The makers include Jim Dine, John Cage, and Enid Mark of ELM Press. I chose 7 books, and I wrote a paper about them for Mark and Carrie. The books are displayed on the table here and back here, and I hope you enjoy seeing them as much as I enjoyed working with them. Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.